Hi everyone, this is Julie and Thomas Hobby, and welcome to the Marriage Puzzle Podcast. We're so excited you joined us again, as today we're going to be discussing 3 books that we recently have read that impacted us as individuals, but also in the context of marriage. So the first one that we're going to dive into is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. If you're familiar with the 5 love languages, they are words of affirmation, receiving gifts, acts of service, quality time, and physical touch. The second book that we're going to be discussing is called Becoming Us by Beth and Jeff McCord. And that's about the Enneagram. That's kind of a popular subject these days because there's 9 types of Enneagram. 1 is the perfectionist, 2, the helper, 3, the achiever, 4, the individualist, 5, the investigator, 6, the loyalist, 7, the enthusiast, 8, the challenger, and 9, the peacemaker. And then we're also going to be talking about Know Yourself, Know Your Money. That's written by Rachel Cruz, who's Dave Ramsey's daughter, and just a different interesting take on money, even how your childhood or the household you grew up in related to money issues. And we really enjoyed listening. Actually, we did an audiobook on that and our marriage and how you learn about yourself and the ways you spend money or want to give money or things like that. So lots of fun to unpack today.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'm joined by my co-host, my wonderful
co-host
husband.
in life.
Thomas. Tell us a little bit about, all these books and things came with personality quizzes. So we've taken them. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about ours and our results, but also encourage you to do the same with your spouse.
Yeah. As many of you may know, if you are following us on Instagram, which if you're not, go do that. We'll have all that information in the show notes. And we'll kind of go through that all at the end of the episode too. But as many of you know, last week I had COVID. I mean, I guess technically I still do have COVID. We're not through the full window yet, but I was down and out last week. So it's good to get back to the microphone and be upright again and be able to kind of put some work in on this and get another episode out for you guys. But yeah, as Julie said, we have been taking these personality tests and things like that. Most married couples probably know of the 5 Love Languages book. I think that's a pretty common book when you're getting married for someone to give you at your wedding or something like that. And, so that probably means a lot of people have taken that quiz at some point in their marriage. And so I retook it. Yours is pretty solidified.
Every time I take the love languages quiz, I get the same thing, like off the charts.
and mine actually changed this time from what I remember it being the first time. It didn't completely change things, but one stood out differently than the first time I remember taking it.
So words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, quality time, and physical touch. What did you score as your highest one?
As the highest one, but not by much, I scored quality time as my highest, which ranked at 33%, with physical touch and receiving gifts both tied at 27% for second place, and then acts of service 13%. Now, if you can do the math quickly, you realize that we've already reached 100%. So there's one that's missing on mine. Words of affirmation, I received a 0% in. And the reason why we're laughing about that is because Julie said there's one that she scores off the charts on, and drum roll.
So yeah, the one that he
is?
gets 0%, I'm at 40%, which is pretty high in this test for words of affirmation. So my next one is 20%. So again, that's a big jump down for receiving gifts. But even when I receive a gift, I feel like it's for affirmation, actually.
So what you're telling me is I can buy you 2 things to make up for words of affirmation, right? If I get you two
Maybe.
20% things, that'll make 40%. That's how my brain works.
I don't know, but this one has just been fun. Like I said, maybe it's common, maybe you haven't heard of it yet, but if you have, retake it, just so you know, like saying, Thomas has changed a little bit. We all change, and that's a good thing. We all grow, and then we need to relearn each other. But
the quiz is free on their website, so you can go take it.
yeah, and I think without knowing yours, I think you tend to guess what the other person is, and you're trying to love them in their love language. And so for a while early in our marriage, I thought Thomas's was acts of service. So many times I would clean the kitchen, and he'd come home, I'd be like, I did the dishes for you. You don't have to do that. Or I washed the car. I did this. And he's like, okay. Like, he really didn't care. Like, I thought that would love him or show love to him. So now with this, we learn it's quality time. But I think quality time, sometimes people can think that as like over romantic. Like, we just need to be gazing at each other's eyes and things like that. But what I've learned is it's not going out and washing the car. But if he's washing the car and I go wash the car with him, I think that's what fills your tank more.
Yeah, as long as you're genuinely wanting to be there and you're not begrudgingly, soaping up the car just to try and fill my love tank, then yes. I mean, if you're like, hey, I really just want to spend time with you, and if this is what you're doing, this is what I want to be here doing, that's great. That's exactly right.
And words of affirmation, yeah, you'll learn that one day. But
well, don't hold your breath. But
what was interesting, I think, is the 5 love languages and learning that about ourselves tied into then the Enneagram personality types, because that's, I don't think it's new, but it's new to us. It's very new to us. I took Enneagram first and then introduced Thomas to that. And so on the Enneagram, I
was just introduced as a nice way of saying, go take this so we can do an episode about this.
Forced. No, I think
it was great though. Really insightful.
Oh, this is the point of why we're doing it. We'll get to the point that's not just learning about us, but it's so insightful to learn. I don't know. I'm fascinated by personality quizzes and stuff and learning about myself, but it wasn't helpful to just learn about me and then kind of like expect Thomas to know. Like, it was just, when I read my Enneagram, which we'll get into a little bit, I cried. I was like reading this pages and pages of my assessment, like, who is this person? They know me better than myself, but like so creepily spot on. But
it looks like into your soul. It's crazy.
But I needed it. Like, I needed to know that and feel validated for who I am and how I'm created to be. But again, for months, it was just me that had that information. And I might have said stuff to you about it, but it was kind of like, okay, until you took the personality test as well, and now we can talk about it together. And that's actually where the book Becoming Us is, like the Enneagram in marriage. And so that was another fascinating book, and it did a little shout out to them on a blog post last month if you guys go check that out. But yeah, so I'm an Enneagram type 3, which is the achiever, the performer, the motivator. And Thomas is
Enneagram type 9, the peacemaker, the harmonizer, and the mediator. And it was really insightful to get to see in that book about myself and have them look into my soul, but then kind of see where it comes from for you as well. And the book does a really great job of telling you like how you can communicate with this type. So if I'm reading it about Julie and I'm reading the type 3 section, then it gives me tips on how I can communicate with them and things like that, which is super beneficial
Because of
in that
words of
regard.
affirmation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's any of you who have words of affirmation as your love language are probably sitting here like, this guy is a total moron if he can't figure out how to do this one. And it's just genuinely hard for me. And I scored a 0 on it on this quiz. So I think that in terms of knowing how to communicate better with you, there's also some underlying personality traits. It's not just that words make you feel good, but it does also the opposite too. Words are so much stronger that they will tear you down so
Right.
quickly, or the lack of kind words almost defaults to the negative side for you, right? So, just like if, I said something mean to you, which I never do, I've never done that ever, right?
Right. You're perfect.
If I said something mean to you, even just, during an argument or something like that, even if, like what you were saying about earlier about when you thought acts of service was mine, you did the kitchen and stuff, and I came home and I truly didn't care because it didn't resonate on the love language scale for me, but I didn't even like say thank you, then that is almost as bad as me saying, why the heck would you do that and waste your time on that? That's so stupid. And so, I mean, that's where words of affirmation is so hard, is because it doesn't impact me at all. Like words really, like the whole sticks and stones thing, that resonates true for me. And so, I think that that's where that comes in, but kind of blending that with the Enneagram and, the different like fears. Like I'm looking at the book right now, and for you, it says your core fear is being exposed as or thought incompetent, inefficient, or worthless, and failing to be or appear successful. And if we go towards the middle of that, and it says being exposed as incompetent, inefficient, or worthless, that's exactly where words of affirmation would hit the most home, right?
Right.
I mean, if whether that's work or home or anything, if you're not thanked and appreciated and called out for the things that you do,
I feel
then
like I'm failing.
exactly, yeah, you
in
feel
every
the
area
size of an
life.
ant. And so that for me is where the two crossed so much, and where I saw so much benefit out of knowing the responses, the answers to both of these quizzes.
Yeah, and same for you with quality time. Just 9, I think, type 9, as I'm learning more, because I've totally engulfed in learning about the type 3s like myself. But now I think it's just as important for me to learn about type 9, since that's what Thomas is. And he just, with quality time, I think with also 9, they want to be known, they want to be seen, they want to be heard and validated. But you tend to come off quiet sometimes, and but you don't need the spotlight and the praise, but still just looking into your eyes and listening without my phone in my hand, and
Yeah.
and that really communicates that you matter and you're important, and I'm fully focused on you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you nailed it. It says, my core longing is that my presence matters, and my core fear is being in conflict, tension, or discord, feeling shut out and overlooked, and losing connection with others. And so now we're talking about our love languages crossing over with our Enneagram, and specifically for me as a 9 on Enneagram, I mean, you could be anywhere 1 through 8 if you're listening to this, and you could also be a physical touch type of love language. And that's okay, because I still believe that, if you're a 9 and you have physical touch, that's how you connect with others. And so, I think that you can take these quizzes on your own, see things and how they contrast and overlap with each other.
And that's why we're making a podcast about this, because we didn't want to just come in and talk about five love languages only, or the Enneagram only.
Right.
And now just kind of how they blend, because a 9 isn't going to just be the same love language as you, and a 3 the same, words of affirmation.
Right.
We're all uniquely made up of all these different characteristics. So, and then you put 2 together to create a marriage, and just totally different dynamics. And now we're going to add a third book into it. And that's where we're like, oh, we want to do a podcast just for the importance of knowing yourself and knowing your spouse. But the third book of that's titled Know Yourself, Know Your Money. Money is actually a really fun topic for us that you're going to hear about in this podcast. We told you earlier, Thomas is a financial coach. That's a passion of yours, though. Yes, it's your career now, but it wasn't always. You get to do it as a career because it's a passion for you. And I'm a fan of it because it can shape or break marriages. And so we recently did this book. I think it was last week. We talked about the road trip, or the first episode we talked about this came about on a road trip that we did a couple months ago. We listened to this book by Rachel Cruz on audio, and we would pause it every chapter and discuss it and dive into what, what we were feeling, but also maybe there were a lot of questions after each chapter, which was nice. So
the book is designed to have you discuss after each chapter, or at least reflect if you're reading it by yourself, if you're an individual. But if you're a couple and you're reading it together, or one of you is reading it and then the other's going to read it when they're done, the book is designed to have you reflect back after each chapter and what they talk about. So the audiobook's the same way, just, specifically said pause and try and take notes and, write some stuff down. So,
and it says, I think there's even a quote, the more you learn about your personality, the more you'll win with money. I bring that up because sorry, Rachel, I'm going to change it a little bit to say the more you learn about your personality, the more you'll win in marriage. And that is about money, from the book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money. That is about the Enneagram. That is about the 5 love languages, or whatever other personality tests that are out there, or are to come. We've also done the DISC test, DISC. We're just not diving into that because we didn't read a book about it.
Right.
But yeah, for Know Yourself, Know Your Money, it also has a quiz that impacts if you take it as you take it individually, but then it also kind of mirrors your results together in one PDF as a marriage unit. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that, anyone who knows Dave Ramsey knows that obviously his whole thing is personal finance and getting on the right track with money. And Rachel Cruz, this book has really taken that a step farther into a personality level, so you understand the why behind what he has been teaching for so many years. He's just been teaching a matter of fact, the system works, great, but if you don't understand why, sometimes that can be really difficult for you, and especially from a marriage perspective, when you've now got 2 different personalities, 2 different backgrounds, and things like that, of why people are doing things the way that they're doing them, or why they act the way they act around money, or just in marriage in general, then that's going to cause problems if you don't try to understand. So, you saying, how did the quote go again? The more you
learn about your personality, the more you'll win with money.
Right, or change money
marriage.
to marriage. So I totally agree with that. And, I think you can get, paralyzed sometimes if you just spend all your time taking every marriage quiz that you can find. But I think that these 3 are a really good overlapping set of personality quizzes that will give you a really good insight into yourself and your spouse, so that you can really gain some good information to help you move forward. I mean, you can find a lot of stupid quizzes out there on
What color are you?
Facebook, and are you a
what
duck
animal?
or a whatever. And so that crap is useless. So don't even bother with some of that. Find something with substance. If someone's written a book about it, that probably means they've put some research and effort into learning about this themselves.
And interestingly enough, like I said, all the personalities are going to be different, and then you literally marry them together on two different personalities, and then that creates a whole nother family dynamic. But and know yourself, know your money. There's a lot of different things we will unpack more later. But interestingly enough, like I scored higher on when she talked about safety versus status. I'm on the status bar, and Thomas is on the safety side of the, what am I trying to say? Like
the spectrum.
The number line.
The spectrum.
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes back to like status for me ties into the type 3 Enneagram, and the safety for you ties into the type 9 Enneagram.
Yep, exactly. Your core desire in type 3, it says, having high status and respect, being admired, successful, and valuable. So, I mean, it's only fitting that you would fall more towards the status side. And then my core desire is having inner stability and peace of mind. So that's just natural that I would fall on the safety side of that. Again, take different Enneagram numbers, different personalities, and your stuff is going to land in different places. We're just trying to give you a glimpse as to, again, learning a little bit more about us to try and help you relate to us, but also to see that, this is two different people taking this, taking all these quizzes, and that yours can fall somewhere else. I do your own research.
The point is, too, that reading the Enneagram, I didn't equate that personality or your personality to our money spending or saving habits. And so just the book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money, just adds, another dynamic of that. Again, it was so good. We'll talk more about that later, but just also a fun thing that we learned about each other there is that I like to spend money more on experiences. And we learned that, Thomas, you like to spend money on things. And so instead of fighting about different extremes, we can just kind of take these tests and know and understand each other more, and understand where you're coming from, what you need to feel loved, or how you were created, or these habits like spending and saving, and where the why behind it is really the point of it. So that was the point of this podcast, was to go through those 3 books and recommend them, and also the personality test. But again, don't be like me, how I did the Enneagram by myself. Do them with your spouse, or talk about it so that they're on board too to taking the test. We took them on our own time, but we were committed to reviewing the results together. It's a fun date night, or go walk around a park and discuss it, and take turns reading maybe about that person to them. Sometimes it's hard to read about it yourself, but yeah, again, there's just such value in it, and then it can turn into a great date night conversation as well.
Yeah. So tell me this, what was your biggest takeaway about me through all of these personality tests and things like that?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in our notes, so you shouldn't have been on the spot, but
I thought I told you along the way, my biggest takeaway was, first of all, learning who you are, really. Instead of
15 years later.
instead of just guessing, I've known about these tests though, just trying to label or guess what love language, label you with an Enneagram type that I thought, and then with the money stuff, being frustrated by your choices. I'm just being honest here.
I asked the question. I have to be able to accept the answer.
So, yeah, because I didn't prepare a biggest takeaway. I think it was just to not just know more about myself. My biggest takeaway was like, it was actually really fun and eye-opening to know more about you and want to learn more about you. Like I said, once I learned I was an Enneagram 3, I actually became obsessed on following all these Instagram things on 3 to know myself and feel known. But I really want to know you and feel loved by you as my husband. So that's where all these personality tests that we did, I'm kind of cultivated all together into some really fun conversations, and now some changes of like our communication style and the way of life and how we relate to each other.
Perfect.
So what's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is that, I would echo a lot of what you said. I think that it gives me the tools now to learn where I can push you as an individual to strive to get better and things like that. How I can fix you. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, I would say don't take these personality tests and use them against your spouse like that.
Yeah, no, I think it lets me know, where some of your personality, weaknesses and fears can be, so that I can encourage you in those areas. And so that, when you're, things that are off the charts, not good in your personality, I can help you and say, hey, that's kind of being, a little bit too much. Let's, how can we, fix that? How can we help you move forward and grow in that area? So that, you can be the best you. And, from a mom perspective, a wife perspective, a work perspective, all of those things, I think that was my biggest takeaway, to just have the tools to be able to start moving forward.
Yeah, that's good.
So, like Julie said, we're going to be, one of the big ones we're going to unpack even more is Know Yourself, Know Your Money. That one just, really resonated with both of us. So next week, in our episode that drops next week, we are going to actually be unpacking our personality test from Know Yourself, Know Your Money. We'll go through that. As a financial coach, that's going to hit home a little bit for me. We've all heard that, one of the top reasons for divorce is financial issues anyway. And, the financial issues are just a math problem, right? And so you just have to figure out how to make more money or have less expenses. But there's so much ingrained in the personality of it. Like you said earlier, why do I make some of the decisions that I make? And that frustrated you for so long. But now we have this opportunity to learn about this, and just...
Or I know the why behind it, or not to give too much away from next week's episode, but Rachel talks about like your childhood and the household you grew up in and how that shapes. And so it was really eye-opening to have those conversations too, as we went through the book, on, oh, you're not just doing that because that's who you are today. That's kind of who you have become.
Right. And so we're going to unpack this personality quiz from both of our perspectives. It came out to be like 35 pages long, so we've got some work to do to really see and dive into it. and what all there is there for us to bring out to you guys. So that's what our episode is going to be on next week, is really kind of diving into money and marriage, and this personality quiz, piggybacking off of this week and having all of the quizzes. So that's going to be our next episode next week. Just remember that episodes release weekly on Mondays on your favorite place to find podcasts, and as our show continues to get out there, it will become available on more and more different places too. So if it's not on your favorite place yet, keep looking out for it. It has to be out there on some different channels for a certain amount of time, but you can check out our website to see exactly where you can listen to our podcast at marriagepuzzle.com. You can see all the different places that were listed. And as Julie mentioned, we have blog posts that come out on the 1st and 15th of every month. So one just came out a few days ago. Make sure you go check those out. Drop a like on those blog posts. That helps us out so that Google can find that people are liking that and send more people to the page. And then make sure you find us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Marriage Puzzle. So go check us out there, and share about the podcast. Share to your friends, especially if you've got married friends out there. Which I'm sure you do if you're listening to this podcast, or if you're listening by yourself and you want your spouse to listen, tell them to listen. Help us out, get the word out there. But thanks so much for joining us this week. Make sure you leave us a rating on the podcast to help get us in front of more people. And we look forward to having you join us again next week, where together we'll work on marriage one puzzle piece at a time. See you guys later.